Hi, this is Misha, and it's a really nice day at the beginning of November, and we decided to bring out 4 different bullpups. So we're going to just shoot them, do kind of an informal comparison, nothing scientific, nothing too in-depth, but just kind of looking at a few different bullpups that are on the market. We have the Bushmaster M17, we have the FS2000, we have the Steyr AUG A3 M1, and we have the IWI X95 Tavor. Failure. Click. I Alright, so we just put a few rounds, both steel and brass case, through each of these here, and the first one up is the Bushmaster M17s. Now, this gun originated in Australia back in the 80s, and when the companies made it over there, they were hoping it might become Australia's next assault rifle, replacing the L1A1. However, Australia went with a licensed version of the Steyr AUG, known as the F88. So this design here was transferred over to America for a brief period of time in the early 90s. It was jointly made between an Australian company that I honestly forget the name of right now and Bushmaster. The Australian company went under, Bushmaster got a hold of it, and then of course in '94 the assault weapons ban came in. Now this is one made during the ban, and the only thing they really had to do was originally take the flash hider off. Otherwise it was pretty much the same. But they would make these through the 90s, and they would actually cancel them in 2005 just due to kind of lackluster sales. This is based on the Armalite AR-18 AR-180. It has a rotating bolt with a gas piston. It has a dual spring guide rod setup like the AR-18 AR-180. This was really one of the earliest bullpups, aside from the AUG and the really the AUG coming into the USA. We had a few FAMASas come in, but in very small numbers, and the L85 never made it over. So if you discount the FAMAS for being rare, it was really one of the only couple of bullpups available back in the 90s and 2000s in America. All of the bullpups today do fire 223. The M17 has a 21-inch barrel. This one, since the ban is over, has a A1 style birdcage flash hider put on. It has a slightly cut back shroud to reveal enough threads to lock it on. You got this nice long barrel here. This is actually a sleeve over it. The receiver is one giant piece of aluminum or some kind of alloy. It looks like kind of a piece of gutter pipe. We have a sort of AR-15 style carry handle with a Picatinny rail on top. There are very rudimentary iron sights built in, and the weirdest thing about this is the cocking handle. It's up here. That's it. Now this mag likes to stick, sorry, so I'm going to have to eject it there. It's a Korean mag, so it doesn't exactly play nice. So as far as how this thing's shot, it has a surprisingly decent trigger for being stock. Nothing to write home about, but actually nothing terrible. The pistol grip is actually fixed to the lower frame, so it's not replaceable. We have pretty well standard controls. Let me flip this over. We have a safety here, just toggle. We have ambidextrous mag release here. It's replicated on this side here. And we have the bolt release you just saw. Pretty standard controls. And one thing that's kind of odd, this is your butt plate. It's just plastic, corrugated, no recoil, which is okay because actually this gun is very soft recoiling. That was nice. On the other hand, your scope mounts very high. what we found, it will handle brass case very well, but it absolutely does not like steel. You'll see some videos of us trying to shoot steel there, and that's why when it was jamming us with the steel. Next up, we have the FN FS2000. It looks like a boat combined with a suitcase. This was one of the few bullpups to come out in the early 2000s. The FS is the semi-automatic version. It came out in 2006. The original F2000 assault rifle came out in 2001, and they've been in development since the 90s. It has a selector taken from the P90, as is the trigger. The trigger is not good. I would definitely say the trigger on the Bushmaster is better. We have a 17 and some change, 17 and a half, 17 and a quarter inch barrel. The flash hider is permanently pinned on. Unlike with the Bushmaster, this does have an adjustable gas system. You can flip this over here for adverse. You can remove this boat-shaped forearm to put on a tri-rail if you want. This has an integrated 1.6 power optic with backup iron sights on top. This removes, this casing just comes off with a push of a button up here, and underneath your scope is actually clamped to a Picatinny rail, so you can put a different scope inside or take it all off and go completely something else, which is nice. Not so nice, if you notice there's no ejection port, so to see if you're loading and everything's working okay, you have to flip up this toilet bowl. Let me try to actuate it so you can see in there. That's really your only ingress into the action if you need to get in there. To eject, it actually piles the cartridges, about 5 of them, in a tube here, and when you get 5, it ejects them out the front, which you saw in the shooting video, which is neat, but you know, kind of odd. It's an odd way to go for an ambidextrous type gun. The safety is ambidextrous. The mag release is right here. It is decidedly not drop free. In fact, you really have to tug these mags out because there's a rubber gasket in there. The gasket is removable though, so that's an option if you have one of these. We were surprised by this. It ran steel and brass just fine. We knew it would do brass fine, CQI and others, but we were surprised that it did run steel. That said, it probably had the most felt recoil of all the bullpups. These today are no longer offered by FN. The Wikipedia page says they're out of production. That may just be Wikipedia, but I can tell you they've been very difficult to get for a couple of years, and all the FN distributors have been out. Next up, we have the Steyr AUG A3. And I'm not going to talk too much about this one because we already have a pretty in-depth video on the AUG. Just to kind of summarize, this came out in 1977 and really was the first bullpup to be adopted by a military. You might argue the FAMAS was, but it seems like the FAMAS came out a year later. Has a lot of great features. The A3 is the modern version. It has a bolt release here, unlike the original. This one still feeds from standard AUG mags. Put the mag release back here. We have a Picatinny rail that you can put anything you want on. This is the M1 version, so this rail is actually removable, so you can put an original pattern optic on there if you wish. It's very easy to take the rail off. There's just 3 screws and a roll pin. So yeah, the AUG ran great today. The AUG really is probably our favorite. It's soft recoiling, has a respectable trigger. Nothing to write home about, but decent. Yeah, that's the Steyr AUG. It ran brass case without any trouble, and it would run steel wolf on the adverse setting. It would not run it on the standard, but it ran it fine on the adverse. It even locked the bolt open a few times. So that was a fun one. And finally, we'll revisit the Tavor X95. We did a video on this when it first came out. I've modified it a little bit since then. We have an IWI brand foregrip. We've removed the bottom panel and put on typical little rubber panel covers here. We've replaced the full trigger guard grip with the IWI standard pistol style. We have a Mepro M21 sight on it, which is what the IDF uses. Still have the backup sights accessible here, of course. And a standard sling using the QD sling swivels. This one ran the best with both steel and brass. It ate both types without any adjustments or any hiccups. The bolt locked open on every try. It's really a toss-up between this one and the AUG, the one I like best. I would say this one has a little bit better trigger, but there's something very nice about the AUG. I think it's a little heavier, but it could just be the scope that's on that one. This one, the sight on it's lighter, but then again the one on the AUG is magnified and this one is not. So which one's the best bullpup? It's hard to say, but it's either the X95 or the AUG, and I think at that point it kind of comes down to personal preference. But just to kind of update folks on the X95, we've had it for about 5-6 months. Well, you know, longer than that because it was in the spring. I guess, yeah, about 6 months now, and it's still been running great. No failures, no jams, no real problems. So we've been having a lot of fun. But this kind of shows you the evolution of some of the civilian legal and available bullpups in America, and they're all really interesting creation. But yeah, in the end, I'm gonna have to say either the X95 or the AUG. I will say categorically, without hesitation, I like the X95 more than the original Tavor SAR. Personal, opinion there, but I just think the upgraded trigger, the replaceable removable pistol grip, the redesigned mag release, drop-free mags. I like a lot of the little changes they made. And I really like how they slim the stock up and kind of slim the forearm. It just feels a little better balanced. But it would be an awesome little SBR. Yeah, this is just kind of our bullpup comparison video. If you have any questions or comments, you own any of these, please feel free to make them below and we'll talk about bullpups. Well, as always, this is Misha and thanks for tuning in.